Los Angeles, city of dreams, a sprawling metropolis where the sun always seems to shine, casting a golden hue over its vast expanse. From the glitzy boulevards of Hollywood to the serene beaches of Santa Monica, it's a place where aspirations take flight and possibilities seem endless. A tapestry of cultures, a mosaic of beliefs. Here, people from every corner of the globe converge, bringing with them their traditions, their stories, and their hopes. The city pulses with the rhythm of countless festivals, each celebrating the rich diversity that defines Los Angeles. From the vibrant parades of Chinatown to the soulful beats of Little Ethiopia, the city is a living, breathing testament to multiculturalism, but beneath its sunny veneer a darkness brewed. The city felt split, division ran deep. In the shadowy alleys and divided neighborhoods, the stark contrasts became evident. Wealth and poverty, hope and despair coexist in a delicate balance, often tipping towards discord. The glittering facades of luxury hide the struggles of many, creating an undercurrent of tension that permeates the air. Nowhere was this more evident than the stark contrast between the majestic Grace Tower Cathedral and the Masjid Nur Mosque. These two places of worship, though close in proximity, represented worlds apart in the lives of their congregants. They stood as silent witnesses to the city's dichotomy, each telling a different story of faith, community, and identity. The cathedral, with its towering spire, was a monument to opulence. It dominated the skyline, a beacon of grandeur and architectural prowess. Its presence was commanding, drawing the eyes of all who passed by. Its stained glass windows, intricate and colorful, told stories of faith and glory. Each pane was a masterpiece, depicting scenes from sacred texts and the lives of saints. The sunlight streaming through these windows cast a kaleidoscope of colors onto the marble floors, creating an ethereal atmosphere that spoke of divine beauty. It was a symbol of the city's prosperity, but also of its growing divide. Inside, the opulence was palpable, with gilded altars and plush pews. Yet, just beyond its walls, the reality of the city's economic disparity was stark. The wealthy and the poor lived side by side, their lives intertwined yet worlds apart. The mosque stood in quiet contrast. Nestled in a modest neighborhood, it exuded a sense of tranquility and humility. Its presence was unassuming, yet deeply significant to those who gathered within its walls. Its minarets, elegant and understated, reached for the sky. They were a symbol of aspiration, a reminder of the spiritual journey that transcends the material world. The call to prayer echoed through the streets, a melodic invitation to pause and reflect. Its white walls, adorned with intricate calligraphy, whispered tales of peace and submission. The delicate script, flowing like a river, conveyed messages of faith and devotion. Each stroke was a testament to the artistry and reverence that defined the mosque's architecture. It was a sanctuary for the city's Muslim community, a place of solace and hope. Inside, the atmosphere was serene, filled with the soft murmurs of prayer and the gentle rustle of pages from the Quran. It was a space where individuals found comfort and strength, united by their shared beliefs and aspirations. The mosque was more than just a place of worship. It was a cornerstone of the community, fostering a sense of belonging and unity amidst the city's divisions. Pastor Marcus Caldwell was a man of fiery conviction. His sermons were legendary, his words like thunder. He had risen to prominence in a time of uncertainty. His message resonated with a segment of the population grappling with change.
I believe in this city, but I also believe it is losing its way. We must reclaim our past glory.
His words, however, often veered into exclusion. He spoke of a single path to righteousness, a path that did not include everyone. His sermons, once about love and compassion, took on a harsher tone. He spoke of threats to their way of life. He pointed fingers at those who didn't look like them, pray like them, or love like them. The night was hot, the kind of oppressive heat that makes the air feel thick and suffocating, wrapping around you like a heavy blanket. It was a summer night, but the heat was relentless, refusing to let up even as the sun had long since set. People were gathered for an event, their faces glistening with sweat, their clothes sticking to their bodies. The atmosphere was charged, a mix of excitement and unease, as if everyone could sense that something significant was about to happen. Even the air felt heavy with anticipation. It was as if the very molecules in the air were vibrating with tension, waiting for a spark to ignite them. Conversations were hushed, eyes darted around nervously, and there was a palpable sense of expectation. People were on edge, their nerves frayed by the oppressive heat and the weight of the moment. It was a night that felt like it was teetering on the edge of something monumental. Pastor Caldwell had promised a special sermon. He was a man known for his fiery rhetoric and passionate speeches, and tonight was no different. He had spent days preparing, crafting his words with care, knowing that this sermon would be one for the history books. The congregation had gathered in anticipation, eager to hear what he had to say. They trusted him, believed in his vision, and were ready to follow him wherever he led, one that would cleanse the city of its sins. Pastor Caldwell spoke of redemption, of purifying the city from the evils that plagued it. He promised a new beginning, a fresh start, free from the corruption and moral decay that had taken root. His words were like a balm to the weary souls of his congregation, offering them hope and a sense of purpose. They believed that through this act they could reclaim their city and restore it to its former glory. The pews of the majestic Grace Tower Cathedral were full, every seat was taken, and people were standing in the aisles, craning their necks to get a glimpse of the pastor. The cathedral was a grand structure, its high ceilings and stained glass windows adding to the sense of awe and reverence. The congregation was a diverse mix of people, young and old, rich and poor, all united by their faith and their belief in Pastor Caldwell's message. The air crackled with anticipation. It was as if the very walls of the cathedral were alive with energy, vibrating with the collective emotions of the crowd. People were on the edge of their seats, their eyes fixed on the pulpit, waiting for the pastor to begin. There was a sense of urgency in the air, a feeling that something important was about to happen, something that would change everything.
"This is the face of evil!" The words rang out, sharp and accusatory, cutting through the tension like a knife. The speaker's face was contorted with anger, their voice filled with intensity and conviction. It was a moment of raw emotion, a stark contrast to the calm and measured tones of the pastor. The accusation hung in the air, heavy and oppressive, adding to the already charged atmosphere.
Then it happened, the moment that everyone had been waiting for, the spark that would ignite the flames of hatred and despair. Faces turned, eyes widened in shock, and the atmosphere shifted dramatically. It was as if the very air had been electrified, charged with a sudden and overwhelming surge of emotion. The tension that had been building all night finally reached its breaking point, and the result was nothing short of explosive. An act of unthinkable hatred. It was a moment that would be seared into the collective memory of the city, a symbol of the depths of human cruelty and the destructive power of anger and aggression. The act was swift and brutal, leaving no room for doubt or hesitation. It was a stark reminder of the darkness that can lurk within the human soul and the devastating impact it can have on a community, an act that would scar the city's soul. The repercussions were immediate and far-reaching, sending shockwaves through the community. People were left reeling, struggling to comprehend the enormity of what had happened. The emotional turmoil was palpable, a mix of anger, fear, and sorrow that permeated every corner of the city. It was a wound that would take a long time to heal, if it ever did. Pastor Caldwell, in a moment of twisted zealotry, held aloft a burning copy of the Quran. It was a shocking and provocative act, one that defied all sense of decency and respect. The flames danced around the edges of the holy book, casting an eerie glow on the pastor's face. His eyes were wild with fervor, his expression one of righteous indignation. It was a moment of madness, a descent into fanaticism that would have devastating consequences. His voice, amplified by the cathedral speakers, boomed through the streets. The crowd erupted, some cheered. The sound was deafening, a cacophony of voices that filled the night air. There were those who supported the pastor, who saw his actions as a necessary step towards cleansing the city. They shouted their approval, their faces alight with fervor. But there were others who were horrified, their expressions a mix of disbelief and outrage. The crowd was a sea of conflicting emotions, a microcosm of the larger turmoil that was about to engulf the city. Others watched in stunned silence. They couldn't believe what they were seeing, their minds struggling to process the enormity of the act. The burning Quran was a symbol of everything that was wrong, a stark reminder of the hatred and intolerance that had taken root in their community. The silence was heavy, a stark contrast to the earlier cheers, and it spoke volumes about the deep divisions that were tearing the city apart. The fire spread quickly, engulfing the pulpit. The flames licked at the wooden structure, consuming it with a voracious appetite. The heat was intense, the air filled with the acrid smell of burning wood and smoke. It was a scene of chaos and destruction, a visual representation of the turmoil that was unfolding within the city. The fire was relentless, spreading with a speed that was both terrifying and mesmerizing, then racing through the dry wood of the cathedral. The flames moved with a terrifying speed, consuming everything in their path. The wooden interior of the cathedral provided ample fuel, and the fire quickly grew into an inferno. The heat was unbearable, the flames a searing reminder of the destructive power of hatred and fanaticism. The cathedral, once a symbol of hope and faith, was now a blazing inferno, a testament to the destructive power of unchecked zealotry. Soon the majestic spire was ablaze, a terrifying beacon against the night sky. The flames reached high into the air, casting an eerie glow that could be seen for miles around. It was a sight that would be etched into the memories of all who witnessed it, a stark reminder of the events that had transpired. The spire, once a symbol of the city's faith and resilience, was now a burning testament to the destructive power of hatred and intolerance. The city's despair was palpable, a heavy weight that hung in the air, a reminder of the long road to healing that lay ahead. The fire raged. It was an inferno that seemed almost apocalyptic, consuming everything in its path with an insatiable hunger. The night sky was painted in hues of orange and red, a stark contrast to the usual serene darkness. The flames danced across the city skyline, casting eerie shadows and creating a hellish landscape. Panic gripped Los Angeles, a city known for its resilience now brought to its knees by the relentless blaze. People watched in horror as the symbol of their city burned. Their faces, illuminated by the flickering flames, were masks of fear and despair. The air was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning, making it hard to breathe. Yet, amidst the chaos, a beacon of hope remained. The Masjid Nur Mosque stood tall, its serene presence a stark contrast to the surrounding devastation. It was as if the mosque was a divine sentinel, watching over the city in its darkest hour.
Tonight, we must be the light in the darkness. The Imam's voice was steady, filled with a quiet strength that inspired those who listened. He spoke of unity, of standing together in the face of adversity. We must meet hatred with love. His words were a call to action, a reminder that even in the face of such overwhelming destruction, love and compassion could prevail. The congregation, a diverse group of individuals, embraced each other, finding comfort in their shared humanity. We must show them the true face of our faith. The Imam led the congregation in prayer, their voices rising in unison, a powerful testament to their faith and resilience. It was a moment of profound unity, a collective act of defiance against the forces of hatred and destruction.
The Masjid Nur Mosque, just a few blocks from the inferno, stood untouched. It was a miracle, a sign that even in the midst of chaos there could be pockets of peace and sanctity. Its white walls seemed to glow in the firelight, a beacon of hope and resilience. The mosque's illuminated exterior was a symbol of purity and strength, standing firm against the encroaching darkness. Inside, Imam Hamed, a man known for his wisdom and compassion, continued his nightly prayers. His presence was a source of comfort for many, a reminder that even in the darkest times there was always hope. His voice, a soothing balm, flowed through the mosque's speakers, calling for peace and restraint. It was a voice of reason and calm, a stark contrast to the chaos outside. His words, a stark contrast to the hate-filled rhetoric that had ignited the city, resonated with his congregation. They listened intently, their hearts lifted by his message of peace and unity. They found solace in his wisdom. In a world that seemed to be falling apart, the Imam's words were a lifeline, a reminder that they were not alone. They found strength in his faith. The serene expressions on their faces were a testament to the power of faith and community, a beacon of hope in the ashes of despair. The firefighters battled the blaze all night. As dawn broke, the majestic Grace Tower Cathedral was a smouldering ruin. The streets were littered with ash. The air was thick with the smell of smoke and despair. Yet, amidst the devastation, a miracle.
The Masjid Nur Mosque stood untouched. Not a single lick of flame had marred its pristine white walls. The gardens surrounding the mosque, lush and green, remained vibrant. Even the trees seemed to have been spared the fire's wrath. It was as if an invisible shield had protected it.
The Masjid Nur Mosque, visible in the background of the charred remains of the cathedral, stood as a testament to hope and resilience.
I stood across the street, staring at the charred remains of Masjid Nur. The once vibrant place of worship now lay in ruins, a stark contrast to the bustling community center it had been just a day before. Smoke still rose from the building, a grim reminder of the fire I had set just hours before. The acrid smell of burnt wood and fabric filled the air, mingling with the early morning mist. My hands trembled, not from the cold, but from the guilt gnawing at my insides. Each tremor was a painful reminder of the irreversible damage I had caused. I had been so sure of myself, so blinded by my rage. The anger had consumed me, clouding my judgment and leading me down a path of destruction. I believed the lies I had been fed about Islam, about the people who practiced it. The misinformation had been so convincing, painting an entire community as the enemy. Now, looking at the devastation I had wrought, all I felt was a suffocating sense of shame. The weight of my actions pressed down on me, threatening to crush me under its immense weight.
Marcus had always been a proud American, a patriot. He believed in the values of freedom and justice, and he wanted to protect his country from any perceived threats. But somewhere along the way, his patriotism had morphed into something ugly, something hateful. The lines between love for his country and hatred for others had blurred. He began to see enemies everywhere, especially in the faces of those who were different. The fear of the unknown had taken root in his heart, growing into a monstrous hatred. Muslims, with their unfamiliar customs and beliefs, became the target of his fear and anger. He saw them not as individuals, but as a monolithic threat to his way of life. He joined online groups that spewed venomous rhetoric, their words fueling the fire that now consumed him. The echo chambers of hate amplified his fears, turning them into a burning rage.
The fire had been intended as a statement, a show of force against what I perceived as a threat. I thought it would send a message, make people see things my way. But now, as the first rays of dawn pierced through the smoke-filled sky, I saw the charred skeleton of the mosque not as a victory, but as a testament to my own ignorance and hate. The destruction was not a triumph, but a glaring symbol of my misguided actions. The weight of my actions pressed down on me, threatening to crush me under its immense weight. The realization of what I had done was almost too much to bear. I had become the very thing I feared most, a destroyer, a harbinger of hate. The irony was not lost on me. In trying to protect my community, I had torn it apart.
His breath caught in his throat as he noticed a lone figure emerge from the wreckage. The sight of another human being amidst the ruins was both a relief and a new source of anxiety. It was an elderly man, his face etched with sorrow, yet radiating an unexpected calmness. The man's presence was a stark contrast to the chaos surrounding him. It was an elderly man, his face etched with sorrow, yet radiating an unexpected calmness. His eyes, though filled with sadness, held a depth of understanding that Marcus could not fathom. The man, Hamed, was one of the mosque's elders. He had been a pillar of the community, always ready to lend a helping hand or offer a kind word. Marcus had seen him often, his white beard and gentle smile a familiar sight in the neighborhood. Hamed's presence had always been a source of comfort and stability. Now, amidst the ashes of his place of worship, Hamed seemed to embody a strength that Marcus could scarcely comprehend. The elder's calm demeanor in the face of such devastation was a testament to his resilience and faith. Hamed surveyed the damage, his heart heavy with grief. The smell of smoke stung his nostrils, a grim reminder of the hatred that had visited their peaceful community. Yet, amidst the ashes, he felt a surge of determination. This act of violence would not break them. They would rebuild, stronger and more united than before. His gaze fell upon a young man standing across the street. He recognized him. Marcus, a troubled soul who often loitered in the neighborhood. Hamed had always sensed a deep well of pain behind the young man's angry eyes. Now he saw a flicker of something else, remorse, perhaps even fear.
This is not the answer, son. Hate only begets more hate. It consumes everything in its path, leaving only ashes and despair.
Marcus stumbled back, startled by the unexpected kindness in Hamed's voice. He had expected anger, accusations, even threats. Instead, he was met with compassion, with a calm that disarmed him. He wanted to speak, to explain, to apologize, but the words seemed trapped in his throat.
Come, son, step inside. Let us share a cup of tea and talk. There is much healing to be done, and it starts with understanding.
He gestured towards the mosque's entrance, his open hand an invitation, a beacon of hope amidst the ruins. Marcus hesitated, his mind a storm of conflicting emotions. Fear warred with curiosity, each battling for dominance in his heart. Shame with a desperate longing for redemption. He felt the weight of his past actions pressing down on him, making it hard to breathe. Hamid's words, spoken with such unexpected gentleness, resonated within him, like a soothing balm on an open wound, stirring something deep within his soul. It was as if Hamid's voice had the power to reach the parts of him he had long buried. He glanced back at the charred remains of the mosque, a stark reminder of the destruction he had caused, a stark symbol of his own destructive actions. The blackened walls and the debris scattered around were a testament to his past mistakes. Could he truly find forgiveness within those walls? The question echoed in his mind, a constant reminder of his need for redemption. As if sensing his turmoil, Hamid smiled, his eyes crinkling at the corners. It was a smile that spoke of understanding and compassion.
It's all right, son. Take your time. Hamid's voice was steady, a rock in the storm of Marcus's emotions.
The warmth in his voice, like a gentle embrace, the genuine concern in his gaze, chipped away at the wall of resistance Marcus had built around himself. It was as if Hamid's kindness was a key, unlocking the door to his heart. With a deep breath he nodded, allowing Hamid to lead him through the debris and into the mosque. Each step felt like a step towards a new beginning.
The interior of the mosque was a scene of devastation. The once beautiful place of worship was now a shadow of its former self. The air hung heavy with the smell of smoke and charred wood. It was a scent that spoke of loss and destruction. Prayer rugs lay scattered amidst the debris, like fallen soldiers on a battlefield, and the once ornate walls were blackened and scarred, bearing the marks of the fire that had ravaged them. Yet, even in the midst of destruction, I felt a sense of tranquility wash over me. It was a peace that came from knowing that this place, despite its scars, still stood. Perhaps it was the quiet dignity of the few remaining worshippers, their faith unshaken by the devastation around them, or the soft chanting that seemed to emanate from the very walls themselves, a reminder of the resilience of the human spirit.
As he sipped the sweet tea Hamid offered, Marcus watched as members of the community gathered. It was a scene of quiet strength and solidarity, their faces etched with sadness, yet radiating a quiet resilience. They moved amongst the wreckage with purpose, offering comfort to one another, their faith a source of strength in the face of adversity. It was a testament to the power of community and the human spirit. He witnessed acts of kindness that defied his preconceived notions, women sharing food with strangers, men helping to clear debris. Their faces etched not with anger, but with determination. It was a determination to rebuild, to rise from the ashes stronger than before. He realized that forgiveness was not just about being absolved of his past actions, but about finding a way to contribute to the healing process. Women sharing food with strangers, men helping to clear debris, their faces etched not with anger but with determination. It was a determination to rebuild, to rise from the ashes stronger than before. Marcus felt a spark of hope ignite within him. Perhaps, just perhaps, he could find a way to make amends and be a part of this resilient community. As he looked around, he saw not just the destruction, but the potential for renewal. And in that moment, he took his first step into the light. Over the next few weeks, Marcus became a regular visitor to the mosque. Each visit was a step deeper into a world that was both foreign and fascinating to him. He would spend hours listening to Hamid's stories, his heart and mind slowly opening to a world he had never known. The stories were not just tales of faith, but lessons in humanity, compassion, and the shared struggles of life. Hamid spoke of Islam's emphasis on peace, compassion, and justice. He shared how these principles were not just ideals, but practical guides for living a meaningful and harmonious life. He explained the true meaning of jihad, an internal struggle against one's own ego and desires, not a call to violence against others. This was a revelation to Marcus, who had only known the term through the lens of media misrepresentation. Intrigued, Marcus began to read the Quran, the Islamic holy book, with fresh eyes. He approached it not as an outsider, but as a seeker of truth, eager to understand its teachings. He discovered verses that spoke of God's mercy, his love for all humanity, regardless of their faith or origin. These verses were a stark contrast to the harsh and divisive rhetoric he had previously encountered. The words resonated with him, challenging his deeply ingrained prejudices. He found himself questioning the biases he had held for so long, realizing that they were based on ignorance and fear.
I realized that the hateful rhetoric I had encountered online was a gross distortion of Islam's true teachings. The more I learned, the more I saw how far removed these messages were from the reality of the faith.
His conversations with Hamid deepened, evolving from tentative questions to profound discussions about faith, forgiveness, and the meaning of life. These discussions were not just enlightening but transformative, reshaping his understanding of the world. He learned about the Prophet Muhammad, his message of peace and unity, and his unwavering belief in the oneness of God. The Prophet's life was a testament to the values Marcus was beginning to embrace. He discovered the rich history of Islamic civilization, its contributions to art, science, and philosophy. This history was a tapestry of human achievement and intellectual pursuit, far removed from the narrow and violent image he had once held. As he delved deeper into the study of Islam, Marcus felt a sense of peace settle over him, a peace he had never known before. It was as if he had found a missing piece of his soul, a connection to something greater than himself. The hate that had consumed him began to dissipate, replaced by a newfound understanding and respect for the faith he had once demonized. He saw the beauty in the diversity of the community, the strength in their unity. He realized that in his ignorance he had been blind to the beauty and wisdom of Islam. The calligraphy, the architecture, the rituals, all spoke of a deep and abiding faith that transcended the superficial differences he had once fixated on. He had allowed fear and prejudice to colour his perception, leading him down a path of destruction. But now he saw a different path, one of understanding and reconciliation. Now he was determined to find his way back to the light. With each step he moved closer to a future filled with hope, guided by the truths he had discovered in the Quran and the wisdom he